So you need to transfer files securely on AWS. Right away, you're at a crossroads. Do you take the easy path with a managed service, or do you roll up your sleeves and build your own system for total control? It's the classic cloud showdown, convenience versus customization. In this explainer, we're going to help you figure out which one is the right fit for you. You need an SFTP server on AWS. Simple enough, right? Well, not so fast. It's a choice that pulls you in a bunch of different directions. The decision you make here is going to have a real impact on your budget, your team's workload, and of course your security. So let's cut through the noise and figure this out. To make this real, let's meet two engineers. On one side, we've got Enterprise Sarah. She works for a big company that needs rock-solid compliance and absolutely cannot have any downtime. Then you've got Startup David. He's working with a shoestring budget and needs all the flexibility he can get. They both need SFTP, but as you're about to see, their priorities are worlds apart. First up, let's talk about the managed route AWS Transfer Family. You can think of this as Amazon's answer for anyone who wants SFTP without the massive headache of actually managing servers. It's designed to be the easy button for secure file transfers. For someone like Sarah, the appeal here is instant. She doesn't have to worry about patching or scaling or any of the infrastructure. AWS takes care of all of it. It's built to be highly available, and it hooks right into her S3 buckets. But you know, the real clincher for her big company, it meets all those major compliance standards like PCI and HIPAA right out of the box. No extra work needed. All right, let's flip the coin and look at the alternative, the do-it-yourself route. This basically means you're launching your own virtual server, an EC2 instance, and you're taking on the whole job of installing and configuring the SFTP software yourself from scratch. Now this is where Startup David's ears perk up. The number one draw? The cost. You can get a small server running for just a tiny fraction of what a managed service costs. Plus, you get total, granular control over every single part of the setup. The software you use, the security rules you implement, you are not locked into anyone's ecosystem. And this quote from a developer on Reddit just nails the whole DIY philosophy. The idea is, look, you can get the exact same result as the fancy managed service, but you keep all the control and you do it for way, way less money. For a lot of folks, that's pretty much the end of the conversation right there. Okay, it's time for the head-to-head. We're going to put these two options against each other and score them across 5 critical rounds: cost, maintenance, security, control, and of course, scalability. Let's get into it. Let's kick things off with the big one, cost. And honestly, the difference is pretty dramatic. AWS Transfer Family hits you with a pretty high fixed monthly fee before you even upload a single file. With a self-managed server, your starting cost can be just a couple of bucks for a small EC2 instance. The trade-off, of course, is the hidden cost of your team's time to set it up and keep it running. And let's put a real number on that. The base price for just one Transfer Family endpoint is over $200 a month. And that's just the price to get in the door. It doesn't even include the fees for the data you actually transfer. And that high sticker price has real-world consequences. Just listen to this founder. They said adding this one service was going to triple their company's entire AWS bill. For a startup like David's, that's an immediate, absolute deal breaker. Okay, next up, maintenance. And this is where the managed service really shines. With Transfer Family, you basically don't have to do anything. No patching, no server updates, you don't lift a finger. But with the DIY route, all of that responsibility, it's on you. You've got to know how to apply security patches and what to do when things inevitably go wrong. Now for security, and this is where things get really interesting. It's a trade-off. Transfer Family gives you that built-in compliance and automatic patching, which is a huge win for Sarah. But the self-hosted option gives David total control. He could install some special monitoring software or set up a custom firewall rule that just isn't possible with the managed service. The catch? The pressure is on him to get every single detail right. And that brings us to the real heart of why people self-host: control. A DIY server gives David complete freedom. If he wants to integrate with some obscure non-AWS tool, he can just write a script. If he needs a very specific piece of software, he can install it. Sarah, on the other hand, she's limited to whatever features and integrations AWS decides to offer. And hey, this isn't just some fringe opinion. Even AWS gets it. This decision tree is from one of their own white papers. It literally shows that if you're already deeply invested in your own custom tools and automations, the most logical path is often to stick with a self-managed solution. They're basically admitting that one size does not fit all. All right, our final round is scalability. And here, the managed service has a clear advantage. If Sarah's company suddenly gets a huge flood of files from a new partner, Transfer Family just handles it. It scales automatically. David, on the other hand, would have to scramble to manually resize his server or maybe spin up new ones. If he's not paying attention, his server could easily get overwhelmed. So, after those 5 rounds, what's the verdict? Which one comes out on top? Well, to find out, let's check back in with our engineers, Sarah and David, and see which way they went. Well, as you probably guessed, there is no single best answer here. It all depends. Enterprise Sarah? She went with AWS Transfer Family. For her company, that built-in compliance and zero maintenance overhead were easily worth the high price tag. And startup David? He chose the self-managed server. For his brand new business, that low cost and total control were absolutely non-negotiable. So to wrap this up, you should be leaning towards AWS Transfer Family if you're in a big company where things like compliance, uptime, and just not having to worry about maintenance are your top priorities. It's for when you're willing to pay for that peace of mind. And on the other hand, you should be all in on a self-managed server if cost is your number one concern. It's the right move when you have the tech skills on your team, and you absolutely need the kind of flexibility and control that a managed service just can't give you. So in the end, the decision really comes back to you, your project, and your unique situation. It's a balancing act, right? Between your budget, your team's time and skills, and whether your organization values control more than convenience. So think about your next project. Are you a Sarah or are you a David?